everyone, it's Tanja from Tanja Kraus Horsemanship, and you are joining me for Wednesday Night Live. Welcome. Tonight we are talking about motivation for the horse. Last week we got to talk about motivation for the rider, and I'm really looking forward to breaking that down and looking at motivation for our horses. And I hope that this is coming through loud and clear. I have had a couple of technical issues this evening, so please go ahead and give me the thumbs up or write a comment or something like that to let me know that you're here. Just go ahead and hit one of the icon buttons. I can't actually read your comments. You can probably tell that I'm a little bit further away from the camera than I normally am, so I'm definitely not going to be able to read comments or anything like that this evening. But if you can just use the icons to communicate with me and hit the like button and all that sort of stuff, I'll definitely know that you're here. And of course, if you're wanting to share this with anyone who may be interested, tonight's topic is motivation for the horse. So go ahead and share that now, and it will invite people to join the live. So thank you for joining me, and we're going to get straight into it. Last week we spoke about motivation for the rider, and a lot of the concepts are going to be quite parallel. And I'm just going to talk about, I think there's 9 different topics that I'm going to talk about tonight in regards to keeping your horse motivated in his work and helping your horse, I suppose, remain interested in what it is that he is doing. So the first thing that I want to say tonight is that progress is the mother of motivation. I say it about humans, I say it about horses. It goes within any kind of application to training, is that as soon as we know that we're making progress, we're obviously motivated to maintain what we're doing. And horses are a little bit the same. They probably don't have the same level of motivation in regards to, say, training for a dressage test or something like that, but they definitely have the same emotions when it comes to training, and they understand that you're asking them to do something and that you're looking for something to be right and you're looking for something to be correct. And so it can be quite disheartening for a horse if he's not getting it right and he's not pleasing you, so to speak, when you leave the arena. That can be something that demotivates a horse pretty quickly. But the first thing that I want to talk about is repetitive exercises. So repetitive exercises can be quite detrimental to a horse, and we have to really find a good balance between doing something until it seems pointless to the horse, and beyond that, doing something until we create not an emotion, but we create a state in the horse that we refer to as being learned helplessness. I'm not going to go into it a lot this evening in regards to what that means, but we basically have a journey or a ladder or a process or a path or whatever word you want to use in terms of our learning with our horses. We go through a phase where we're teaching the horse something new. So let's say we're teaching the horse that when I put my leg here, it means this. When I put my hand here, it means this. When I put this here, it means that. We sit in a phase of teaching the horse cues and rewarding the horse when he performs the correct action, so to speak, on those cues. Then, as we move beyond the teaching phase, we go into a phase where we're looking to repeat the maneuver at a level that creates a progress in the horse. So say we're doing a turn on the haunches or a circle or a canter depart or whatever it is, we'll continue to do that maneuver over and over again repetitively during sessions because we're trying to look for an improvement in the horse. What we need to be careful of is that there is a boundary. There will become a point where repetition for training purposes becomes pointless repetition. So phase 1 is teaching. Phase 2 is repetition for learning and improvement's sake. And then phase 3 is detrimental. So the horse begins to think that what you're doing is pointless And he may start to push back on what you're doing, or he might start to play up, or he'll look for a different answer because he's not sure that what he's doing is the right thing. And then after that phase, if you continue on through that phase and you get a submission from the horse, or an acceptance from the horse that he has to be doing that thing over and over, you can start to really nudge in the concept of learned helplessness, which is something that we really want to stay right away from. It is as bad as it sounds, and that's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to repeat the maneuver often enough to make the horse fluid in the movement and proficient in the movement, but not so much that he begins to resent the maneuver or he begins to resent his training time with you. So it's really important to be aware of that boundary and start to understand that that boundary exists, and we have to be very careful and mindful of how we're training horses and how we're introducing them to things and things like that. I can see a lot of comments popping up. I really appreciate the comments. Thank you so much. I will I will read them all after the live. I can't read them right now because I'm too far away from the camera, but please keep commenting. I really love when people are interactive and all that sort of stuff. So I will definitely, rest assured, I do read them and I reply to them after the live. So I really appreciate that. So the first thing that I want to talk about beyond repetitive exercises and just being aware of repetitive exercises is that to keep our horses motivated, we need to make sure that we're offering up challenges. So we're keeping him fresh, we're keeping him interested in challenges, but we don't want to make things too challenging. So I'm sure that all of us as human beings have been in situations where we've been learning something new or something like that, and when you go along to class and there's a challenge or something that you don't get perfectly, or you sort of go, oh, that's challenging to me, it keeps you interested. But there is a level that when it gets too challenging that you kind of throw your hands up in the air and you think, wow, that's too complex for me, I'm going to step out there. So again, we're looking for that boundary for our horse, and every horse is different. Breed, age, level of education, level of trust, level of partnership with their owner, all that sort of stuff is going to come into consideration when we're talking about our horses and we're talking about how far we can push them. But definitely, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, the horse can build resentment in that, and he can start to become indifferent to the maneuver. I don't believe that horses get bored. I hear a lot of people talk about horses being bored, and I think we all use that word pretty flexibly, if you like. I don't think that horses actually get bored, because I think that horses get confidence from doing something that they know. But I also feel that, a horse can become kind of less interested in a maneuver that he has done thousands of times, and he can certainly build a little bit of resentment or indifference surrounding that particular movement. So number one is introducing challenges to the horse, but not too challenging. You need to introduce challenges step by step by step and let him be successful in that challenge, and then introduce a new challenge. So number two is touching on the border of his comfort zone. So as we're training young horses, or any horse for that matter, we can definitely get into a routine where we might head down the paddock and we're always training him in the same arena, or we're always training him in the same paddock and things like that. And so there's nothing that nudges on the edge of the pressure zone, or nothing that borders on his window of tolerance. So your horse becomes very, very comfortable in what he's doing, and he becomes very comfortable in his environment, and he becomes very comfortable in his tasks. So something that you can do to keep your horse motivated is introduce something a little bit different and a little bit new, and something that takes him out of his comfort zone only slightly, such as moving him to a new area and asking him to work there, maybe taking him down the road and asking him to train in a new arena, or train in different company, or inviting friends to come over to your paddock and train with a few different distractions and things like that. So just introducing a little bit of newness, and it may be external distractions that are offering you that newness. that's going to help keep your horse motivated, because what you're doing is you're going to train something that he knows, which is the confidence, but the external stimulation is going to be there, offering a little bit of a challenge to your horse, and that, when done correctly, can keep your horse motivated in his training. So number 3, the third thing that we're going to talk about is trying something new. I know that a lot of us get stuck in our particular discipline or what we're doing, and we're really passionate about that discipline and things like that. And sometimes we forget to take into consideration that when we're working with our horses, quite often we're his only source of stimulation. If he lives in the same paddock and he gets fed the same feed and he lives with the same paddock mates, all of that's fantastic. I'm not saying to change any of that, but what I'm saying is that it wouldn't hurt the both of you to actually cross-train a little bit and introduce new things into your training schedule. So, try, if you're a dressage rider, go and train on the trail. If you're a trail rider, go and train in the arena. If you're a reining person, go and train some dressage. If you're a cow person, go and train some reining. Anything that you can kind of introduce to start to motivate your horse, to show him that there's other alternatives out there, that's going to keep him motivated, and that's going to keep him stimulated in his work when you present him with something that's a little bit different, and a discipline perhaps that's a little bit different. Number 4 is, it's probably a little bit left of field, but it definitely needs to be in the lineup, and that's instigating your horse's chase drive, or your horse's interest in pushing something else around. Ultimately, our horses live in a hierarchy, and they get confidence from being able to move something around. So obviously, those of you that work with cattle a fair bit, you're already tapping into that section of your horse's stimulus or your horse's brain. But those of you who are in an arena all the time or out on the trail, I'm not sure whether that kept filming. My phone actually just started ringing, so I'm not sure whether that kept filming or not. So I'll just repeat it quickly. Those of you that are arena riders or even riders out on the trail, and you don't do any work in terms of maybe moving some cattle around or chasing a mechanical cow or even playing follow the leader with other riding buddies, that can really stimulate your horse's play drive and your horse's instinct to follow and chase something. So I've seen a few dressage horses that are cross-trained on cattle, and you can really put some forward motion into them and some real purpose to their training if you put them on something that they can follow or chase, or they feel like they're empowered by pushing something around. So, it sounds a little bit left of field, but I have seen it used very successfully, and it can be really fun for the horse, and it can be really fun for the rider as well. So don't discount that. Number 5 is social outings. So doing social outings with our horses is really important. Meeting new horses, riding with new people, riding in new areas, all that sort of stuff can really help our horses maintain their motivation and maintain their enjoyment of their ridden career. Sometimes, again, I'm repeating myself here, but sometimes we really get stuck in a particular discipline and we feel like we need to train on that particular discipline all the time. And we forget that our horses are really social beings as well, and they are interested when you take them out, and you don't need to let them in a paddock with new horses, although that's fantastic as well. But when you're riding, you don't need to let them smell all the other horses or anything like that, but just simply going on a ride with new and different horses is interesting for your horses, and it's a new and exciting experience. So that can add to their motivation when it comes to riding out and things like that. The 6th thing that I want to talk about is doing exercises with purpose. So maintaining motivation in the horse, I'll go back to what I said at the start. If you're doing something that seems to be fairly pointless to your horse, like repetitive circles or going around the same pattern over and over again, the horse begins to lose an understanding of why you're doing something. and it really has no meaning or no purpose to him. So if you can add a purpose to it and you can actually give him an idea of what it is that you're trying to achieve, then your horse is going to be a lot more on board and he's going to be a lot more motivated in regards to your riding sessions. So I like to take my horses on the trail quite often. I train a lot of my horses on the trail, and even if they're only short trails, I'll definitely go out, and my horses seem to ride better on the trail because they know that they're going somewhere and then we're going to go home. So there's a purpose in that loop, and there's a purpose in doing something. One of the other things that we used to do, even when we were living on really small acreage, is we used to ride the fences. So those of you who are living on really big acreage would understand what I mean by that. And you know, what farmers and people on big property used to do is ride the fence line simply to check the fence and make sure that the fence was still intact all the way around, to make sure that stock wasn't going to escape and things like that. So simply riding a fence line can be something that you can do with your horse. And I know when you're on an acre, it doesn't seem like a really big fence line, and it's not, but it's just something different to your horse. And what happens is he gets the purpose from your body because you're looking at the fence and you're riding along the fence and checking the fence. So he feels that energy from you, and he feels like you guys are doing a job together. So even if your horse doesn't understand the job, if you feel in your body like you're doing a job, that will translate to the horse, and the horse will start thinking, oh, we're out doing a job, we're checking the fences. So putting a purpose to something, you know, a trail, moving some cows from one paddock to another. I started a horse one year for a lady who was a dairy farmer. And when she took her horse home, she said, oh, I'm not really going to have much time to ride, and we're running the dairy. And I said, get the horse and use the horse to move the dairy cows. And she said to me, the dairy cows will come in on their own. They don't need the horse behind them. And I said, the horse doesn't know that. You know, it just gives the horse a job. It's going to be a really successful job because the dairy cows are going to go into that milking area all on their own. The horse really isn't doing it, but he doesn't know that. He just knows he's behind this huge mob of cows, and they're all walking away, and he feels like he's got a job to do. So never underestimate doing little things that makes your horse feel like he's relevant and he's got a purpose. Purpose in your body. So this is kind of adding on to what I was just talking about. If you're doing endless circles and endless arena work and endless drills that you're not really committed to, or you don't really understand the purpose of, you're going to be translating that to your horse. So you're better off, if you're doing a riding session, you're better off doing a point-to-point session. So I'm going to ride from here to the gate and count to 10. I'm going to ride from here to that tree, and then I'm going to do 3 circles around the tree to make sure that, you know, the tree's still alive. And then I'm going to ride the fence line and make sure all my fences are intact. If you've got purpose in your body, your horse feels that from you, and he might not even know what the job is. He may not understand at all what the job is, but if you've got purpose in your body, your horse is going to get that motivation from you, and he's going to reflect that motivation in the work that you're doing. So never underestimate your energy and what you're translating to the horses. Number 8 is short, sharp sessions. I speak about this a lot. I know that there's a lot of people out there that think that, you know, I need to ride my horse for an hour. We need to have a 1-hour lesson or 2 hours, or we need to go on a 3-hour trail ride. Never underestimate the value of having a really short and sharp session with your horse where you go out, you do something, you achieve something great, and you quit. And it might only be 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 5 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever it is, but don't underestimate the power in that, because as soon as your horse feels like he's achieved something and feels like you've been successful in the task, then he's going to feel good about his session, and he's going to be re-motivated tomorrow when you start working with him. This is something I've just gone through personally with a little filly. Those of you who know Squizzy, she's one of those horses that really doesn't like to be worked or my interpretation was that she didn't like to be worked. And I've been trying this with her lately, where I might just catch her and do one thing with her. It might take me 2 minutes, maybe a little walk pirouette, or maybe a little bit of sideways or half pass or something like that on the ground. And I let her go straight away as soon as she's been successful. And now this horse has gone from a horse that would run away when she saw me in the paddock, and now she's actually starting to walk up to me, and she's motivated and wanting to be caught and wanting to be worked with, because she's changed her level of thinking. Because I used to catch her, and unfortunately a few times I had to catch her and go and teach a 3-day clinic. So she got used for 3 days, 8 hours a day or something like that. And so she really started to see the negative in that, and she really started to think, well, what's in this for me? But now that I'm catching her and doing one thing and saying, oh, great job, good job, Squizzy, she's really loving that attention, and she's really loving that positive affirmation that I'm giving back to her. So never underestimate the short, sharp session and how powerful that it can be for your horse. The last thing that I want to talk about is sessions that aren't all work for our horses. So I've got limited time, you've probably got limited time, we've all got limited time, and we've all got goals that we're trying to achieve. And what tends to happen is all of the moments that we get to spend with our horse has some kind of structure, and it's got some kind of purpose behind it. So whether we're going out there and we're feeding them and brushing them and rugging them, or we're going out there and getting their feet done, or we're getting their teeth done, or the vet's coming, or we've got a lesson, or we're just riding for an hour because that's all we've got. It's always work. It's always something. It's always, oh, here she comes again. What is it today? What do you need from me today? Never underestimate the power of having sessions that aren't work, having sessions that is just hanging out in the company of your horse, and don't worry about what it is that you're trying to achieve that week. Don't worry about the training session. Just enjoy each other's company, and whether that's on the ground, or whether that's at liberty, or whether that's just sitting in the paddock, or whether that's just riding and just going for a nice casual ride, it doesn't really matter what it is, but have those low-key sessions that feel good to you and feel good to your horse. And I suppose really revisit why we have horses in the first place. I mean, I know I love to be around my horses, and that's what attracted me in the first place to horses. When I was such a small child, I used to go and sit in a paddock. When I was 3 and 4 and 5 years old, I used to go and sit in a paddock with 20 horses. And I used to just love sitting there and watching them eat and all that sort of thing. And, they'd walk up to me and be curious about me, and then I'd give them a rub and they'd walk away. And our family didn't have horses. I didn't know anything about horses, but I just liked being in their presence. So I think that a lot of us that own horses were attracted to horses for that reason. We enjoy their company. We enjoy being with them. But unfortunately, life is so fast and busy and complicated and, time poor and all the rest of it, that we forget those moments where, why don't I go and grab my cup of coffee of the morning and go and have my cup of coffee sitting in the paddock and just spend some downtime with my horse and just enjoy his company. So I think that really builds the motivation in our horses. I know that my horses definitely still walk up to me in the paddock because they don't know. And it's not that if they knew that they were getting worked that they would avoid me. I think it's about the horses enjoying my company as well and being curious, like, oh, what are we doing today? Are we hanging out today? Are we doing some liberty today? Are we doing some ground stuff today? Have we got some care work to do today? Are we doing some ridden work? Are we going on a trail? Are we going out on the arena? What is it that we're doing? I think that's interesting to our horses, and as long as we have that balance in our horse time, that our horse doesn't start to associate us with work. So that was my number 9. It's written down as number 9, and then I did a number 0. So that's 10 points that I hope are going to help you stay motivated with your horse. Last week's was about the rider being motivated, and this week is about, of course, the horse being motivated. So I hope that gives you some ideas and some interesting points or something to think about keeping you and your horse motivated. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on this live, and I can see the comments rolling through. Like I said, I definitely will read them all. I cannot see them at all from this distance. I hope the audio and the visual was quite fine for you. I am at a friend's place. It is her birthday. Happy birthday, Corinne. I'm at a friend's place. She's already left to go to dinner, and I hung back to do this live. So I'm sure quite a few of the comments are probably about this lovely set that I've got with me. And this is part of my gorgeous friend Corinne's house, and she has graciously let me use her house for my set tonight, and it is a beautiful, beautiful picture. I said straight away, I'm going to sit in front of that picture because I know all you horse lovers out there are going to absolutely adore this picture behind me. So I hope you're all having a great week. It is Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. I hope you're all enjoying your horses. Please feel free to send me any messages about topics that you'd like to see me cover on these Wednesday night live shows. These shows are absolutely for you, and that's what I do them for. The other thing that you can do is log on and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just go to Tanja Kraus Horsemanship on YouTube. I have just uploaded a series called 10 ground exercises to keep things interesting. The entry-level series has already been uploaded, so there's 10 exercises there, and over the next 10 weeks, there's going to be 10 intermediate exercises uploaded. So we do a new one every week, so definitely subscribe to that channel, and you'll get the new training videos every week. You'll get notified when they're up. So thank you again so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a great week with your horses, and I will see you all soon.